There is a canyon in the Appalachians where 125 million gallons of black water killed 125 people in under an hour, and the company responsible paid roughly $8,000 per death and faced no criminal charges. Another canyon where 31 miners died in 11 weeks, and the only man who knew the truth wrote it in a private ledger he was too afraid to make public. And one canyon that does not appear on any map printed after a specific year, though every map before that year marks it clearly. We are counting down 8 of the most isolated canyons in these mountains. It gets considerably darker. Number 8. Linville Gorge, North Carolina. Linville Gorge drops 2,000 feet over 12 miles. The walls are sheer quartzite, some faces rising 1,400 feet with no ledge and no purchase. The gorge is so tight in places that the sun reaches the river floor for fewer than 4 hours in December. In the 1930s, a civilian Conservation Corps survey team entered the gorge to assess possible trail routes. Here is what they found. At the base of the northern wall, stone-laid foundations, deliberate construction, oriented to the compass, roughly 40 feet on each side. No tools, no artifacts, no explanation of any kind has ever been offered. The CCC field report was filed and never acted upon. No follow-up survey was ever commissioned. No agency has formally acknowledged what the foundations are, who built them, or when. The foundations are still there. Hikers find them on routes the Park Service does not officially mark, and that is only number 8. Number 7. Breaks Interstate Park, Virginia and Kentucky. The Russell Fork River carved Breaks Canyon over millions of years, cutting 5 miles of gorge 1,650 feet deep through Pine Mountain. This is the deepest canyon east of the Mississippi. In the winter of 1899, a logging company sent 32 men into the gorge to assess timber volume. 17 came out. Here is how it happened. The remaining 15 deaths were attributed to a flash flood, but the river gauge at the nearest downstream station recorded no significant rise that week. The company filed no accident report with the county. 3 families in Dickinson County received no F certificates, no compensation, and no formal explanation. Their names appear only in church burial registers and in the personal diary of a Methodist pastor named Elias Burke, who wrote that he was told not to ask questions. Burke's diary was donated to a local historical society in 1961. The pages covering December 1899 had been removed. 15 men. No official cause. The gorge holds it still. But here is what is strange. That is only number 7. Number 6. Tallulah Gorge, Georgia. Tallulah Gorge is 2 miles long and nearly 1,000 feet deep, cut by the Tallulah River through granite that is 500 million years old. In 1913, the river was dammed for a hydroelectric project, and the gorge fell permanently silent. The waterfalls that 19th century visitors described as among the loudest natural features in the South were simply stopped. What remains is the rock, and carved into those walls, at heights that require ropes to reach, are symbols that predate any documented Cherokee settlement in the immediate area by an unknown margin. The carvings include geometric patterns and figures that match no cataloged regional tradition. No archaeologist has produced a verified origin date. The river is gone. The carvings are not, and that is only number 6. It gets considerably darker. Number 5. Lost Cove, Tennessee. Margaret Prater buried her youngest son in October 1918 and had no one to help her carry the pine box. Lost Cove sits in a bowl of mountain so enclosed that the nearest road was 4 miles of switchback trail above the valley floor. The community that lived there from the 1820s onward had no mail delivery and no resident physician within a day's hard ride. Here is how it ended. The influenza of 1918 arrived in early October. By the last week of December, 41 people had died in a settlement of fewer than 90. Margaret Prater was one of 12 survivors who chose to stay through the winter rather than walk out and leave their dead unattended in frozen ground. No record survives of what that cost. The Cove was officially listed as abandoned in 1943. No marker was placed. Imagine standing at the edge of that bowl on a January morning. The trail above you is 4 miles of ice and switchback. The valley floor holds 41 graves and no sound at all. You can see the outline of the last house from where you stand. The door is gone. The chimney is intact. Somewhere below you, Margaret Prater made the decision to stay. Nobody told her to. Nobody came to check. Number 4. Whitewater Canyon, North Carolina. In October 1943, the federal government displaced 47 families from the Whitewater River Gorge. The eviction letters contained a clause stating they could return when the wartime project concluded. That clause was later redacted, not removed, blacked out, by officials whose names appear on no surviving public document. No family was notified of the change. The Defense Department absorbed the land. Not one of those families came back. The letter that promised them otherwise did not reappear in any public record until the 1970s. By then, the land had been redesignated twice and the question was closed. Imagine standing at that gorge rim on a cold October morning. 400 feet below you, the river runs over the same rock those families watched every day of their lives. The brush behind you holds the outline of a chimney. The lane into the gorge has been gated since 1962. The government took everything else. They never returned. Number 3. Pound Gap, Virginia and Kentucky. In the spring of 1892, coal operators brought armed company men into the gorge at Pound Gap to end a labor dispute. The striking miners, families living in company housing cut into the canyon walls, held a meeting and voted to stay. Here is what that cost them. Over 11 weeks, 31 miners died of causes that company records listed as accidents. The Dickinson County coroner, James Fleenor, wrote in his personal ledger, "I am not permitted to say what I know." Fleenor sealed that ledger in a trunk. His grandson donated it to the University of Virginia in 1974. The company records have not survived. Of the families who stayed through the dispute, fewer than a third remained in the canyon the following winter. They left their belongings exactly where they sat and walked out. They never came back for anything. Number 2. Buffalo Creek Gorge, West Virginia. On February 26, 1972, a coal slurry dam owned by the Pittston Coal Company failed. 125 million gallons of black water hit the communities below in under an hour. 125 people died. 4,000 lost their homes. The state of West Virginia accepted a settlement of $1 million, roughly $8,000 per death, and released the company from all further liability. No corporate officer faced criminal charges. The governor's office entered language into the congressional record, describing the disaster as an act of God. When an institution with the power to name things calls a man-made failure an act of God, what exactly is being protected? That question has never been answered. The gorge is still there. Number 1. An unnamed canyon, West Virginia. There is a canyon somewhere in the central Appalachians that a researcher described in a 1987 letter to the Virginia Historical Society. She had found it on an 1871 survey map, followed the marked path, and arrived at a stone settlement with no denomination on its church and no name on any document newer than 1903. There were no graves, no burial records, no parish registry after a certain date. A farmer at the ridge told her the road had always ended before the canyon. She checked historical maps. It had not. She returned 2 years later. A new fence line, fresh concrete posts. The path markers were gone. I cannot name this canyon. The point is that it does not want to be named. Historians estimate more than 10,000 lost settlements across the Appalachian Range. Most vanished through poverty, disease, and slow abandonment. Some were taken, and a few, it seems, were made to disappear in ways that left no trace the record was willing to keep. These canyons are real. You can find most of them. Imagine standing at the edge of one on a still afternoon, the walls rising on both sides, the light barely reaching the floor, and the certain knowledge that something happened here that no official document will confirm. The mountains are older than record keeping. They hold more than we will ever recover. Subscribe. This channel goes where the maps run out.